can remember there was guys come around with a semi and it was kind of we had 20 acres of oats, and then we baled it right behind the combine and spread it. So then bales, I don't think weighed over 20 pounds, just fluffy as could be. And they come around, they needed some straw, run through the chipper and blow on the banks. And we just got done putting it in the barn, would you want to sell some? I said, how much you want? 4,000 bales. Maybe. How much you want to pay? Well, what do you want? I said, $4 a bale. We'll take it. And my dad kept saying, you're screwing people. I can't believe it. That stuff ain't worth 50 cents a bale. I said, if they want to pay it, Dad, I don't care. I'll take it. We got a check for $4,000, and every time I drive across the Vidoc Center, I just smile.
They're supposed to be tore out here.
What, next few years? Yeah, next 2 years, I think. Yeah.
We bought straw one time. They wouldn't put it on the truck. They wouldn't buy the pie.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Look at the minutes.
I did. Make a motion that we approve it.
Okay.
Anything?
I got one thing, you've got Springville Cemetery, shouldn't that be Stringtown?
Yeah, but I thought they talked about both. You're
I
probably right,
don't
think.
know. I was thinking Stringtown.
Maybe I got that off that report. I'll change it to Stringtown.
Yeah, I
Okay.
don't know which way it is.
I'm thinking it was Stringtown
Town.
that they were gonna put the stone with,
Alright.
I think.
I'll change it to Stringtown.
I'm not, okay, got a motion? Gary?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Here's the liquor license.
So moved.
Look at it.
I should jerk with Marty.
I think that's Ben Bonner trying to get in. He went around.
Mhm.
Dick's probably got.
And I will second this motion of Gary's.
All in favor of approving Kim's liquor license?
Aye.
Aye. And we got resignation.
Yep. So Chris Ryder has retired effective December 3rd, 2021. He thanked for the opportunities for the professional and personal development that the county provided over the years.
Need a motion to accept Chris's resignation.
Yeah.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, accepting the resignation?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And how about, while we're
Jennifer?
doing the resignation, how about Jennifer Zrodnik's?
Make a motion that we accept Jennifer Zrodnik's resignation from the compensation board.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do you have something for
Yes,
Karen then?
basically name and phone number,
Okay.
that's all I got.
You have an email or anything?
Yes, I
Okay.
think so.
So we'll
I'll
give it
give
to
it
her
to
then.
you, yeah.
Karen Machka?
I think so. It's a tongue twister.
Yeah. Okay, make the motion that we appoint Karen Machka to the compensation board.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
There you go.
Do you have time to do number 8?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you. You know, John?
Yes, I do.
I do too.
And I took him to the meeting last month, introduced him, see if he was interested in filling the position that was vacated from the previous guy. And he's willing to serve, so.
Good, very good.
And he's somebody I think we can count on.
That's
So,
even better.
that will come to the meeting, so.
Yeah, good.
Which
How many-
portion is he representing then?
Just county
He's
at
just the
large.
county at
Yep,
large.
yep.
How many people aren't attending the meetings?
How many come? Oh, I would say on average, we probably got a dozen.
When is your next one? I got a piece of mail. Or
Thursday.
Gary's got two.
I got it now already.
Otherwise I can scan it to him
Yep.
for two.
Yep, I got it, but
Okay.
if you wanna scan it,
Yep.
you can, or
I
I'll.
already did, so I'll
Oh, you
send it
did?
to her, but
Okay.
if you wanna give it to
Yep,
So do you
I'll do
need
it to
a
'em.
motion to appoint John?
Yes, I
Kestner?
do.
I'll make that
Second.
motion.
Okay, all in favor of appointing John Kestner?
Aye.
Aye.
Bye. And.
10 is
Denny,
just a setting a date, isn't it?
yeah,
Well, we're gonna wait for Gina to come in here on that.
okay.
Okay,
And on number 11, I'm still working on that. here
All
real
right.
quick, but-
Okay.
So I think Ben's out there.
okay. That works.
Ben, you're up right away.
Alrighty,
Oh, good morning, Ben.
good morning.
Thank you.
Yep.
First thing I had for you was the 2021 Weed Commissioners Report. Every year the state sends this out for the weed commissioner to fill out, and I've read it to you guys in the past. I'm gonna let you read through it quick, but it covers the general weed situation for the county. So I go through and try to rank each individual weed for how bad of a problem I think it is. It goes over other problematic weeds that we've been dealing with, how much we spend on spray, how many weed complaints that we send out, and chemical usage for our spray trucks. So.
Okay.
So in general, I would say that our weed situation has been pretty constant since I've been here. We've been spraying, more or less the same way for the last 20-some years, and I think every year we're kind of slowly chipping away at the thistle problem, I guess. It's never probably ever going to be perfect, but I think that over time I've noticed that, with this change in sprays a little bit and whatnot, we've started to kind of see a overall improvement, like on the county level anyway. And the brush situation seems to be getting a little better for what we can spray. Canada thistle, bull thistle, and musk thistle have still been our main issue plants. Those are the ones that most people complain about. That's been the same for the last 8 or 9 years or so.
Once you get a crop of that, it's pretty hard to get it out, isn't it? Thistle.
Yeah, for the most part, we try to do the best that we can. We're one of the only counties around that sprays the whole county every year. And I think for the amount of money and staff that we have dedicated towards it, I think that we're doing a pretty decent job of keeping the stuff under control. It's just that with the amount of miles that we have It can be challenging to keep every individual patch under control with those being perennial plants, and, you know, each individual patch seems to bloom at a little bit different time, and, you know, some stuff just with you know, we usually start sometime in May, and so at that point, a lot of them aren't headed out where you can, you know, see them that well and stuff off the get-go. There is some stuff occasionally that just from the amount of area we're treating that we may not hit perfectly or miss a little bit, but for the most part, I think it's been pretty effective, so.
Are you gonna have problems getting temp drivers, you think?
I'm hoping not, but I think just with the way finding help in general has been, you know, for all businesses, I think there's a chance that we might run into issues. I know one of my drivers, I think, is committed to come back for next year, but the other one I'm still kind of waiting to hear back on, so I do think it's something where we may need to look at adjusting the wage a little bit to try to incentivize people to apply. The last couple of years, we've had just enough people to fill the positions, so as long as that holds, we're good, but, you know, if we ever have where one of the guys doesn't want to come back, then, you know, we're kind of in the same boat we were at 4 or 5 years ago where we had to re-advertise a few times to, you know, get people on, so. The unfortunate part of that then is to, you know, the 1 year we couldn't find people, it pushed us back so far. I think we didn't end up starting spring until the first or second week in June, and then, you know, we were playing catch up the whole season, trying to, you know, keep stuff, you know, under control anyway, so, but. So yeah, I guess the only other thing, I can go through some, or the rest of this as well. Yeah, so the amount of money we spent on spray was pretty similar to the previous years. We had quite a bit of carryover from the year before, so the dollar amount I have listed probably isn't, you know, perfectly representative of what we actually spent this year. Is probably on the order of, you know, 50 to 55,000 if you take into account what we had bought from last year, but they had just asked for what we had spent this year. As far as the weed complaints go, we had about half the number this year sent out that we had the year before. I think last year we sent 43 weed complaints, and this year we sent 24 if you include the verbal ones where I just talked to landowners. I think overall it's been pretty successful. I think last year we only had one called in weed complaint, and this year we didn't have any from the public, so we've been a little more proactive with sending out weed complaints. When I started here, we operated basically just on a complaint basis, so we'd wait for people to call and complain, and normally I'd get 15 or so people on a yearly basis that called in and complained that their neighbors had weeds, where now we haven't had, you know, and I'm not saying it's completely attributed to us sending out weed complaints proactively, but this year we didn't have a single person call in and complain about weeds on their neighbors' properties. So I think that on the whole it's been a little bit more, better, I guess, operating that way, so. And then, yeah, more or less the rest of the information, you know, is kind of the standard stuff from year to year. So we've still been using the same roadside mix. It's a mixture of Milestone, which we use for primarily Canada Thistle and some broadleaf plant control. We mix in the Escort chemical to try to knock back wild parsnip and little cedar trees. We've been one of the only counties that have been actively treating wild parsnip, which I think is good because the chemical is pretty cheap, and I think eventually it'll get added to the noxious weed list, and hopefully we're ahead of it then. I've noticed, I mean, there's still a lot out there, but I have noticed that it's starting to slowly kind of get beaten back in some spots. And then, the last chemical I've listed is just our 2,4-D we run through for broadleaf plant control, so. The only difference next year, and I'll probably talk to you guys about this in a different meeting, but we are looking at trying to pre-mix some of these chemicals to try to not have to tank mix the Milestone and the Escort. And there's a variety of reasons that we're wanting to move towards that, but that's something I'll probably talk to you guys about in a different meeting.
That's not what this grant opportunity is that you got on here.
No, that, it would be for some spraying equipment, but not the actual spray trucks. Those I'll probably address in the next couple of years, so. But, you guys have any questions about the report, or, I guess anything for, like I said, I know the weed commission stuff's kinda, not the most fun thing to deal with, but I think on the whole, it's been seeming to be effective anyway, based on what I've seen the last few years.
Okay.
I guess what you doing nowadays?
What's that?
What are you doing now since you
Right
can't be
now?
spraying, yeah?
We've been kind of doing a variety of things. Like yesterday, we ended up burning off one of our plantings. We've been doing, like the bulk of my job is doing prairie plantings in the ditch. So a couple of years ago, we got approached by City of Garrison to do a planting on the north side of town, like where you go out on that highway. So we planted from town up to the next gravel road. So we had a pretty good day yesterday for burning. So we went out and burnt that section off. It's part of the management that we agree to when we plant the seed we get from the DOT. And the city had put up a sign out there, so they were wanting wildflowers basically as an entrance type planting. I got a head start on all my budgeting, so I've been working on some of that recently. We've been burning some brush piles, cutting trees and that type of stuff. So my hope is that next year, when we have the chipper, I want to try to fill the time between spraying and the winter, when we normally cut with the telescopes, with going out and clearing smaller trees and stuff like that with that brush chipper. So yeah, it's been, like I said, I've been trying to, probably my biggest focus recently has just been trying to figure out some of the budgeting and grant opportunities for next year, so that we can keep, more affordably replacing equipment and whatnot, so.
With my grandson there, I get kind of clued in almost, at least weekly, what they've been doing.
Okay.
And they have been cutting a lot of trees, like saplings, et cetera. He's gone out, must have a blade on a weed eater.
Yeah, we bought a.
That you take care of the
A
smaller.
big weed eater that's got a harness, and it's got like a brush blade on it, so he's been clearing a lot of that stuff in spots, so.
Yeah.
We did a clearing project out on the high road a few years ago by the quarry, and there were some willows that were coming up in there that we've been trying to keep all that stuff down for visibility and stuff like that. So Wes has been working on a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, that's a young man's game.
What's that? Yeah. And then we've been trying to work with the DNR bought a big chunk of ground on the north side of the road across from the quarry, so we've been trying to work with them on some of their driveways and open up line of sight. When they bought that chunk, there's a new driveway that got put in just to the east, so we've been trying to clear some of that stuff back along there too. He kind of requested that before the stuff gets too big and unruly, so. But yeah, like I say, that's kind of my hope with that brush chipper too, is we have so many random one-off trees out, and that eventually what I'd like to do is haul that around and try to get rid of some of that stuff that's not practical to go out and create a brush pile to burn anyway, so.
Okay.
Right now, it's looking like, I talked to the salesman on that the other day, and I think they're talking like March, we're supposed to get that thing in, so.
Well, not to hurry you along,
Yeah,
but
no, we
you've got
can-
another item, and we've got another timed item.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, for sure. The only thing I would need is just a signature on the weed commissioner's report, because I do have to send that into, the state in December, I guess. So if
So
you
you
wouldn't
need
mind
Tracy's
signing
signature,
those.
but you've got on here grant opportunities?
Yeah, I can just talk to you guys about that quickly here, mainly just because I'm working on budgeting right now for next year. So through the Living Roadway Trust Fund, I've got a variety of grant opportunities that we can take advantage of with having a fully fledged IRBM program. So the thing I've been looking at doing is replacing one of our pickups and turning it into a little more robust spray truck, basically, that we can have the intern, or potentially down the road if I get another full-time person, have that unit set up where it can be operated on its own without a seasonal to basically help them out. So the trust fund offers two different grants that I was looking at for this year. One is to help fund a heavy-duty pickup, so they'll provide up to $10,000 to help fund the purchase of a pickup if it's going to be used for spraying or IRVM purposes. And then they will also fund up to $15,000 of a spray system to go on, or I guess they just have it listed as herbicide equipment. So what I had looked at was replacing one of our pickups. And I just kind of got a quick estimate, you know, and for a new F-450 to replace the pickup that we have right now, just to kind of give you guys an idea of the cost we were potentially looking at. And then I found a company out of the southern United States that creates or makes these pretty user-friendly spray systems that I think would work well for an individual to operate. So every year we do touch-up spraying for, you know, our overall spray operation. We try to treat guardrails. We do bare ground treatment for the county shops and stuff like that. So I kind of want to try to get this unit to be set up to do that type of stuff as a one-man operation. So this spray system that they build has hydraulically operated spray heads that fold off the front of the truck. So you can shoot on the left side of the road, you know, where you can operate the truck and the spray system at the same time to touch up thistle patches, or we can use those booms to go spray guardrails and that type of stuff where you're not having to get out of the truck in the middle of the highway to try and shoot that type of stuff, which is somewhat dangerous. And then this year we tried to use the spray trucks to do some of our bare ground treatment around the shop yards, which is, it works, but I think it could be done a lot better with a smaller vehicle. So that's another thing I think that we could use this for is, you know, those foldable heads. You can, you know, fold it out. We can mix that bare ground treatment in there and then shoot everything relatively efficient. So,
Well, that would make sense if you're able to operate a one-man spray system
yeah,
versus having a driver and a sprayer,
yeah.
you know.
Well, and I think it would help us to accommodate for people taking vacation or being gone sick or whatever it is, where, you know, if we've got 3 people there for the day and 2 people are in one of the spray truck, the other guy could jump in this potentially and, you know,
keep
go
spraying.
out and shoot thistles. It's not probably gonna be as efficient as the regular spray truck, just because you're probably gonna have to go a little slower as a one-man operation, but at least it would allow us to still, you know, keep moving and getting stuff done anyway.
So there's a potential for about $25,000 in grant money
Yeah, yeah. So
to put towards.
I've been trying to be a little more at least putting this stuff on my radar early, just because this stuff changes so much. Like the first year I was here, I know Myron submitted a grant and got a laptop for the program, and then they decided they weren't gonna fund laptops anymore, so they took it off the list. So that's where I've tried to keep an eye on this stuff, that if it's something we think would be beneficial, I'd like to do it sooner rather than later, just so, you know, the funding doesn't disappear and then lose the opportunity to. But it was just something I thought I'd bring up to you guys to look over, just since I'm kind of working on budgeting right now anyway, so.
Dreaded budget,
What's that?
the dreaded budget.
Yeah, it's, I don't know, it's kind of fun in a way, but
Yeah.
there's just a lot of planning that goes into it, so.
Feel my pain then.
Huh?
Feel my pain.
Yeah.
I'll take
So-
a motion to approve.
Oh, his.
So moved.
Okay.
Weed report?
Yes.
Okay, and second.
And sign, let me sign it?
Yeah. That's your
You-
motion,
You
isn't
can
it?
sign it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So, and then on this is that, I guess what I was looking for today is that something that you guys would be interested in me pursuing? If so, I'm probably going to try to move money around in my budget so that I've got enough there to potentially cover it. I mean, I know it's something we can talk about later on down the road. I just didn't wanna waste the time going through it if it wasn't something that you guys thought was worth pursuing.
To me, it makes sense to try to get into a one-man scenario. What do you guys think?
Thanks.
Help is hard to get. You're agreeing with that, are you, Sheriff?
Yes, I am.
I'm a little afraid. I mean, I hope, like I said, we've had one of our spray truck drivers that's been pretty consistent for the last 5 years, and I think he's planning on coming back, but I know our other driver, I think is kind of a toss-up maybe at this point, but,
Well, it doesn't mean you're gonna buy it, it just means you're gonna try to
yeah,
work it in a
yeah.
budget.
Well, and honestly, it would just be right now another way where if I can get my intern, you know, this year I'll probably try to hire another intern, so if I can get them to get their pesticide applicator's license, my thought was then, you know, we can eventually send them out to do additional spraying to try to get it done quicker too, so, you know, like I said, nothing has to be decided on today, I just was gonna look into it
You just
further.
look for some guidance.
Yeah, cause I'll have to write 2 grant applications basically to help fund the one unit if, you know.
So if you write a grant application, you get approved, doesn't mean you have to buy it.
Yeah, I mean, I could write it, I don't know if it obligates us to it if I do submit it and they do fund it. But we wouldn't find out if I even got funding until probably September of 2022, so.
So you're looking at a 22, 23.
Yeah, and
Scenario.
then we would have between September of 2022 to December of 2023 to spend the money, basically. They give you a year there to.
I don't see any hurt in it, do you?
I would say, yeah, you can start, you can apply for it.
Okay. Yeah, and the only thing we would have to, yeah, I'll start working on it then, and we could discuss it later when we get to budgeting or something too, but I just figured I'd put it on you guys' radar for now, so.
So that's 121,000 total for the project, right? I got it figured?
Yes, and then, so then the grant, like,
That's at today's prices. Yeah.
yeah, and they had warned me that the price they had given me on the pickup, they can't provide a 2022 pickup right now, so it would be a 2023, and I know that he said the cost was gonna, I mean, I don't know if it's gonna be a lot, but he said they anticipate that the price was probably gonna go up a little bit for the next year anyway, so, which I had told him, you know, this just be for a general ballpark figure, but yeah, so you'd have roughly 120 20,000 in that unit, and then the grant would buy it down to what, like 96,000, I think, so, but.
Well,
Just humor me, get also a price on, not the one like you got in here for the injection system,
Yep,
the old fashioned kind like you got now, it's already tank mixed.
on
You know,
for
For the tank, for spraying equipment.
yeah, for the
Yeah,
other truck, you're saying.
just get a price, don't
Yeah.
spend a lot of time on it, but
Yep. Yeah, I can definitely do that, so I'll just have to try to find, I don't know if there's anybody around here that builds them that I'm aware of. I'll do some looking into it.
I would say try Sprayland and Marion.
Okay. Sounds good. Definitely. So,
Okay, thanks,
Okay.
man.
awesome.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Ben.
guys.
We got next, Mark.
We got James?
Yep,
James.
me and Drew Palmer. We're looking at purchasing land from Fidel's, it's right next, it's off of 32nd Avenue, the road, the highway heading from Shellsburg to Urbana, just before the Oak Grove Church. There's 17 acres of land right now, it's plotted into 4 residential in the very far back of this, and 2 commercial towards the highway. Originally, we were looking into buying the back side of it, but we would have to join the covenants of Hidden Meadows, which wouldn't allow any houses, and that's what my wife and I wanted to build, was a house. Got to looking at the property, and I was told if I bought all the property, then I could change the covenants. We wouldn't need to use their road, we could have our own road, and it would essentially be our own property and our own land. That's when I brought Drew on. He's pretty experienced with this, and he's interested in buying some land too. So we're gonna divide it into, or we want to divide it into 8 2-acre lots, just a little over 2 acres in the back, because that would be our lots. The rest of them would be 2-acre lots. Its own road going down the middle, well, electric, they would supply their own septic. I already talked to, who does your perks? He pretty much, I would say, I'm not gonna say runs Benton County, but he is the.
he's
His
right
friend
there.
Mark Greeley?
Yep,
Yep, we talked to Mark Green.
yep, we both talked to you. Yep, yeah, actually, I think Drew called you, and then I called you, and took a half hour of your time up, so, I learned a lot, but I think we're sitting where we need to be for this, as far as the perks go, and talk to, well, we're gonna, if all this goes through, have, talk to Spidell about drilling the wells, we'll have community wells, so we'll have 2 wells out there. Drew has some plans, drew up, sitting on up right now.
They are available digitally via email, or I just brought a copy for you guys to review. I don't know if you want me to pass it around. or-
Sure.
Okay.
This is the property that Spidell's were gonna put an event center in.
Yeah, they never did.
Never did.
Really?
Yeah, so that, it's currently zoned by, out of the road as commercial.
Okay.
This would go back to, basically, rental.
Same.
Okay, good. So this side over here is the side that is 32nd Avenue frontage. It's roughly the 6100 block-ish. I think the actual address is 6113. We would put in the new culvert. We would put in a road. These dimensions are basically what is standard or average in Cedar Rapids. I just kind of took it off of what a friend of mine, engineer, told me to do. We'll put a cul-de-sac here at the end. The 2 semi-larger lots are here at the end, which are roughly 2.5 acres, and then all of the other remaining 6 would be 2 acres. It is indicated right now that they are slightly less, but we're just gonna shrink up the easement on the road a little bit to maintain the 2-acre minimum for the septics. And then each side would be controlled by an individual well, or,
A community well.
yeah,
Mhm. A shared well.
Yeah.
I would interject here, and I don't mean any offense at all, but I would just be a little bit careful at this point as a board, because I've told Jim in my conversation with him, based on what I know about this right now, this is gonna require going back to the beginning, because we're talking substantive changes to what was approved, and we're also looking at ownership change. Hidden Meadow Farms owns this ground here right now. It's previously platted subdivision, was all duly done, but it's Hidden Meadow 3rd Edition. In order to even be entertaining any of this, that development, that 6 lots, that plat would need to be vacated, and you're gonna start over. And so ultimately, you're gonna get a land use application with a preliminary plat, and then you're gonna be looking at a final plat. And I think it's improper, is probably the word right now, to get too involved with this until you actually get an application, because we gotta go back to public hearing. We had a public hearing on this previously when it was all approved, but it's going to be different now. The way that the plat exists right now is there's 2 large lots, as was said, they're residential, and then there were 4 smaller lots. But like I said, I just intervene at this point, that you don't wanna get too deeply involved in this at this point. Knowing about it's fine, but, you know, like I said, you're gonna need to go back to the beginning, so.
Yeah, go through the proper channels. This
Exactly.
is a discussion thing. I guess whether or not we would have an objection, is that what you're saying? To change back from commercial? Because the 2 lots are commercial out there, correct?
Correct.
Well,
Along the blacktop.
They're, the way it's zoned out now, the 2 lots next to the road,
Over
those
here.
would be
Yeah.
the commercial ones,
Okay,
so.
and you'd like to change,
Change those
take
back to
those.
the residential, yeah. So these 2.
That's what they're looking for, is guidance, I guess.
Right, so, yeah, to about right here, these 2 lots here, and then these 4 lots here were already zoned residential.
Okay. All right. So you want to know if we should send you back to the drawing board? That's what you're getting at?
I feel that if indeed it's going to proceed as it's been described, it definitely has to start over. But the original plat, the Hidden Meadows 3rd Edition, would need to be vacated. And that doesn't involve these guys, that's gonna involve the current owners, I would say. I mean, that's my preliminary thought about it, so.
Okay.
What happens if they purchase it and then start it?
Well, if they purchased it, then I'd say that's fine. If you want to purchase it without knowing that you can actually do the other. You know, I'm not standing here saying that there's issues, I'm just standing here saying that there's a process, and
Yeah,
that
yeah,
absolutely has to
right,
happen,
right.
so.
And I think that's what you're looking for, is whether or not you should purchase it, or are we going to leave it as is?
Correct.
We would prefer not to leave it as is, but we would not want to run into a scenario where we purchased it and then we weren't able to change it.
Yeah. I don't know. You guys have a problem?
I don't have a problem.
Perfect, thank you.
Send it back and. go
Yeah,
from
you'll
there.
have to purchase it, and then Mark said, you'll have to go see him.
Can you purchase it subject to getting the land use change?
That's what, yeah, I talked to the realtor,
Okay.
Mike Burns. That's what
Okay.
we're gonna.
That's what
so-
most people do, and that's why I mentioned that you may have to have that plat vacated by the owner if
We-
you're going to proceed.
We talked to a lawyer about that,
Okay,
so we understand we'll have to, pretty much like you said, wipe the board clean and start with our own. Yep.
Okay.
So what's the next step then? I know that there's a new filing fee that we'd have to do.
the next step
done with
is
this?
to fill out our land use change application. And there has to be, as I explained to you on the phone, there has to be a preliminary plat that accompanies that. It would be basically what it is that you're wanting to do. That's all contained in that preliminary plat. And then, I also mentioned to you the need for the engineer, land surveyor. You have a few things that have to be completed in addition to the preliminary plat when you file a land use application, and that's feasibility study you mentioned you wanna do shared wells, apparently, community wells. But then there's also the, situation in respect to septic systems. We're gonna do individual septic systems, and that has to be spoken to by way of an engineer's report. That's something that our department then, reports to the supervisors in respect to, is it feasible to do what it is that you're wanting to do there? And that's based on what the engineer says, and then, of course, our review of that. So you need the preliminary plat with those documents, and also what's gonna happen with drainage, erosion control.
Yep.
That has to be addressed also by the engineer. And so then, when you go and apply for it, once we get the application, we schedule a public hearing, and that'll be before this board, and then all the information is presented to the supervisors at that time. And in that first meeting, then, the supervisors are looking at approval of land use, and then also approval of preliminary plat. And assuming that that happens, then there is the follow-up with final plat, and then, of course, that's another step. The filing fee with land use application's $1,000, and then that's paid when the application is brought to our department. And then the following, when you get into final plat approval stage, there's a $250 lot fee, in order to go ahead and get that all recorded. Approval of the final plat requires a resolution, that's approved by the board. Haley, our county auditor, and I usually work through that process together, but basically that resolution then is taken, when you're getting ready to record documents. And there's other attachments that are necessary, and your attorney can help you with what that is. But it's basically, that you're doing this of your own free will. It's called owner's consent, and then there's other documents, taxes are paid, those kind of things on that parcel. But that's the process from beginning to end. But the very first thing is getting the application filled out, and with that application, the other documents that come from the engineer.
That application, is that online then, or?
Yes, it is, or I can get you one. I don't have one with me right now. I just
Okay.
came for information only.
Is there a way we could communicate to get a respective list of those things that we needed to?
It's all in our ordinance, our subdivision ordinance of what it is that needs to happen.
Okay.
Engineering firms that have worked with us know exactly what all of those
Yeah,
items
sure.
are, basically, so. But if they don't, then like I said, I just encourage them, the subdivision ordinance is also online. You can get it from our office, whatever works best for you. If you, before you leave town today, if you wanna stop up the courthouse, we can certainly get you that information if you want.
We got a gal that is kind of in charge of that stuff. She'll be able to
Okay,
take control of that and
okay.
maintain that.
And we've been in contact with Brain. I believe they're the ones that did the preliminary.
Brain is the engineer that did the Hidden Meadows edition.
That's who we're gonna be using for this one, so.
Yeah.
They're well aware of our process.
Perfect.
Good.
Okay, well, is there anything else that we need to communicate here with?
No.
Okay, well, thanks for your time.
Thanks, guys.
Okay,
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Did you want us to, maybe email you a copy of this?
well, I think that would all
No.
come with your
I-
engineer stuff.
Okay.
and-
I would just have the preliminary plat prepared, and
Okay.
it's gonna reflect basically what you have, I
Yep.
assume, so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark, for coming.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I just wanted it to be certain, to be a little bit, they're basically talking about a new proposal, and so ultimately, we need to follow all of the steps, so. I don't know that they can ask you for an assurance of anything at this point, until the information's presented, so.
You going back to your office,
Yes, sir.
and you gonna be there for a hour or so,
Um,
or you got an appointment?
I'm not sure about hours, but I will be there for a while.
Okay, I'll slip up and see you after this meeting.
Great, we got people installing septic systems still. so-
Okay,
Right before the heat wave tomorrow.
the wind.
Oh, yeah, that's
Oh,
something
yeah.
big clinic.
Yeah, up to 65 mile an hour gust. Yeah.
Thanks, Mark.
Hey, you're welcome, see ya.
Yeah, that gentleman got on the
Yeah,
agenda and I didn't
it's
know.
gonna be fun.
Good, good.
Yeah.
I don't know what the deal is, but, weather radio says 20-some mile an hour winds.
Well, it's Gus. What is
How about
that
the redistricting? You ready?
Gina's
vinyl
coming.
piece land
Oh,
there,
she's coming.
Sheriff?
Yeah.
On the
They're
floor?
gonna meet afterwards, but we're
Okay.
gonna try to set some.
Plug cover.
Service area amendment
Cord
though.
cover.
Okay.
Okay, okay.
So for the number 11, amend
Yes.
service area, as you know, we did the budget amendment October 5th, and so I did all those journal entries. But when we do the budget, we have to do it by service area. So when I put that ARP money into, most of it went into service area 1, public safety. But when I'm looking through some stuff, I'm gonna have to adjust because, some of the office things I think should be under admin rather than public safety. So I'm gonna move some spending authority around per service area. We're still within the bottom dollar line,
Sure.
but then I know I talked with Dean with transportation, we're paying Dana out too, so he might need a little cushion. He's service area 6. So I'll do a resolution and move some of that from service area 1 into those other 2. And I think I'm good with Shelby, but, yeah, cause when I originally published, I kinda put the lump sum all in the one, so. But we have the authority as a board, you guys can amend within the service area without me publishing in the paper. We just have to do it by resolution,
Okay.
so. That's what I'm asking for.
Okay.
And I should have those final numbers within your minutes, and then if you approve that resolution.
Okay.
You'll have it on next week for,
Yeah,
A
it'll be in the
resolution.
minutes, yeah, with the resolution. If you approve it today, I'll get that
Oh.
document prepared.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
so you need a
I need you
motion
guys
to approve
me
the,
to amend those service areas by resolution,
by
but
resolution?
then you won't sign it until official till next week.
Yep.
Okay, so you need a motion to approve the amended service areas.
Yes.
Please.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Second,
By resolution.
Primer, aye.
beer shank eye.
Seaman, aye.
That work for you?
That does, thank you. Yeah, since we paid out that Raycom and stuff, once I knew now what we're using, because when we first published, I was like, I just had to put it out.
Mm-hmm.
That helps me out. And then number 10, I'll give you a little lowdown. Gina's coming in too, because Gary's on that redistricting committee. So what we'll need to do is, they're meeting today, and they're gonna go over the different scenario plans. And then we, as a board, you'll have to do a public hearing to approve the new ordinance with the new plan. They, as a commission, have to do their own public hearing too. So we're just trying to get it all, our ducks in a row, because it has to be all done by January 15th. So for publication costs,
Mhm.
we were thinking tentatively to set our public hearing, if they meet like January 3rd, which is the first Tuesday of the year, or actually the first working day, you guys are gonna have to meet January 3rd. It's a Monday, because it's the first day of the year. And we might have to do a couple days consecutively, because you have to have 3 readings for that ordinance. So if you wanna come in person, we could maybe do some budget work, or you guys could call in for the reading of the ordinance.
Okay.
So that's kinda where we're at, so I was thinking like January 4th, 5th, 6th, if we could do those 3 readings, cause I have to publish it, not less than 10 more than 20 days type.
So we meet on the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th.
Yeah, possibly those days, 3 of those days at least. But if Gina's gonna set her meeting with them guys, so if her meeting, they will come present to you guys probably on the 3rd. So then we probably can't do our first reading until the 4th.
Okay.
So I didn't know if you guys were Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, or what 3 days looks good on your guys' schedule.
Tuesdays we'll start off with.
Okay, so make that the first reading on the 4th.
Then we gotta have one more reading.
Well, at least 3, or unless you waive one of them, but
Oh,
for an ordinance to be final.
how many maps we have?
Well, right now, we have a couple different options for Gina. That commission will present just the supervisors.
You met yet?
City,
after this meeting.
Oh, today?
yeah. City of Benton did their
Yeah,
own.
so I
Broadleaf
think
did their
we're
own.
probably tabling number 10, aren't we?
We put, so as far as, when
Because
we're
we
looking
can't
at
set
the census
the
wise,
dates.
I don't think I have to change any precincts.
No, can't.
We can set
It's
them.
just the supervisors districts at large.
They'll be after
You
the
have to keep
first.
it. So that.
So is
that
this
can
what
change
she's
a little.
talking about then on the 4th, 5th, 6th?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
You okay with the 4th, 5th, and 6th?
So that's what you're talking about for setting the public hearing
Yes,
dates?
well, I have to
4th,
set
5th,
the
and
dates
6th?
because I have to publish it that we're meeting on the 4th, 5th, and 6th.
We're not waiting for Gina to come in here.
Right, well, she's gonna come in later, but they're
Okay.
gonna come in, their commission is gonna present
Okay.
to you guys on the 3rd. So
Okay.
for us to technically have
Okay.
our reading on it till the 4th.
All right, so we're
But
looking,
my notice to the paper, I will use those dates.
It would be cheaper, wouldn't it? Like you said, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, instead of having 3 different dates, you know, or ads, just have it
I
all.
just have to have one ad, but I
Okay.
have to put those 3
Well,
readings.
Yeah.
if they
Yeah.
present it to us on the 3rd, can't we just have a public hearing right after that?
Probably, I just
The
didn't know. if
3rd,
that
4th,
was
and 5th?
normal. That's your call, I guess,
Okay, how about that then?
because if her notice is, yeah, that's fine, as long as you guys might have to meet earlier in the morning that day then. His commission.
That's fine with me,
So if
Okay,
you met at 8 o'clock,
but I don't know about the rest.
well, it's you, Nick, and Gina on that commission, so. That's fine,
okay.
we can,
So
We
do
have
you
to
need a
change
motion to
those.
set those
yes,
dates?
please. Yeah.
Okay, make a motion that we set the dates for the public hearing for the redistricting. That was
For the
really
ordinance hearings, yeah.
tough for me to say, for the 3rd, 4th, and 5th of January.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye,
Aye.
Aye.
you got her.
And I'll try to make a time on there. I'll put a
Yeah,
time on
that's
that
the only
motion.
thing that you can,
Monday,
Probably 9:30ish or 9 or whatever.
Whatever.
We can make
it's
it one
not
of the
Monday.
first things.
We meet on Monday?
Yeah, 'cause
Yes.
we have to work first working day of the year, the new year.
We do?
Because you guys have to appoint your chairman.
Oh, the
and all
3rd,
that.
okay. Hey, therefore. Why not?
Okay. So it'll probably be 9:30 on the 3rd because I'll have to give them time to come present first and then.
Mhm. Okay. You'll put that in the motion, right?
Yep.
Data curl.
what about the 4th and the 5th?
We'll probably do 9.
Just the 9 o'clock time frame. Yeah.
And if we need budget work by then, we can, or otherwise you guys can call in for that.
Mhm. Okay.
But we're gonna have our regular supervisor meeting on Monday.
Right, yeah, that's the long one, where you do all those appointments and you guys have been doing your homework on that, right?
You betcha.
Yeah, right. Check my oil wells in Texas too. Myron.
Morning.
Myron, I was,
South of Blairstown. All or part of you know where Tim Miller lives, right on the, maybe, may not, but mile south Blairstown. You turn west to go to the landfill. If you go to east, that farmhouse that's on the northeast corner is
Yep.
owned by Tim Miller.
Okay.
I forget who was doing it before that. It's in the back of my head, but the name's not popping up to me. Has requested to tie the electrical at his farming operation across the road on the south side to the house. He's talked to Kins and Ball Earth Moving to bore an electrical line underneath 78th Street. So I've got a utility permit
Oh, piece of cake.
for you to approve.
Okay.
If I recall right, I think that's Alliant Energy's source.
I believe it
Motion
is.
that we approve that utility permit for Kinzenbaugh Earth Moving and Tim Miller.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
right below, right there.
Okay, yep, I see it now.
You wanna put today's date, cause I sent it yesterday. I think. Yesterday started at 7 o'clock and it ended at 10:30 last night, and it seemed like it went by real quick, just everyday stuff and everything. It was when I called it quits last night and went to bed.
Hopefully your brain shuts off. That's when it doesn't.
Not completely, but it did eventually. Today, coincidentally, marks the 6-month anniversary from a mechanic that I hired, Taylor Pluha. And so if the bargaining unit contract language is entitled to a pay increase after 6 months. So Taylor's pay would increase to $22.69 an hour effective today.
So moved.
And I will second that.
That one's by resolution?
It is.
Primer, aye.
Beershank, aye.
Seaman, aye.
There's 2 of them there. And I did send them to you just
Yep, I
before you
just
walked
copy and
out the
pasted
door.
in there.
I thought maybe you'd be running along this morning, so I didn't leave as quickly as I should, but
Yeah, we kinda heard Ben up.
Deb was listening to the meeting.
Yeah.
Said, "It better get going," so I headed out the door. While Gary's signing that, I'll go ahead and get started on the other 2 resolutions are kind of related, but with some openings that have created themselves with some retirees. I don't know if I got it in order in the resolution, but I'm gonna go with the order that they're gonna get started. I interviewed an individual by the name of Dennis Shea, who has some motor grader experience. I have asked him to run what we call the number 26 route, but the motor grader maintainer route that is north of Benton, basically east side of the river, with the exception of about 9 miles over by Rogers Park that guy does also. And Dennis is starting today. His beginning wage would be $22.03.
Make a motion that we approve hiring Dennis Shea.
Second.
By resolution,
Primer, aye.
Beershank, aye.
Seaman, aye.
Also got an opening to fill on the grading crew at least, and another individual that I interviewed that's got some equipment experience is individual by the name of Shane Clark, currently working for a contractor, is available at least on the 27th of this month. I will learn Friday whether or not that might possibly be sooner. It's not gonna be this week, but it might be next week. His starting wage would be $22.15 based on his experience.
Well, then I'd make a motion that we hire Shane Clark.
Second.
By resolution,
Primer, aye.
Beershank, aye.
Seaman, aye. So how many are you down to that you're short?
Depending on how I configure things, I think 2 at the moment.
Getting better.
Hmm?
Getting better.
With the mechanic going to Keystone, I need a mechanic right now that we just closed applications on Friday.
Okay. You had some applications done on that one?
Actually, very few on this go-around, but we had advertised for that position 7 months ago. Like I say, the mechanic that we had this morning was 6 months ago, and I had one 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, that was 6 months. I was gonna contact a few of them to see if they were still interested, that couple that we interviewed. And I think another application that came in between that time, and whether they would or wouldn't be looking at that and trying to, I think, decide how things might work best in our organization with a few other changes, whether we move some groups around type of deal, but maybe some people do some snow route activity.
I guess the only question I had, well, two things, I guess. One is, are they pouring cement this week at Luzerne?
Yes, I just talked to, in fact, my phone was ringing as I walked in the door. The inspector was en route this morning when I called him to get an update. The concrete pavers were there yesterday afternoon doing some form work. They're supposed to be on site today. That was what he was headed to confirm, as well as make sure things got laid out correctly. Probably won't have that quite ready to pour it yet today, and we'll probably pour it tomorrow. And then the plan was to then pour the other lane however long it takes to get it ready, which was anticipated to be 2 days after that pour. So I'm thinking maybe it's Wednesday and Friday this week instead of Tuesday and Thursday is what I was thought last week. But based on where the weather pattern is right now, I'm not too worried about pouring anything this week, I don't think. The contractor does have insulated blankets, so he's gonna cover everything up after he pours it anyway.
Okay.
Or will need to if the temperatures are gonna be such overnight, but we had the same subcontractor doing the approaches, the paving that did the approaches at the Dizer Bridge last month, and we ran into some colder weather up there, and they had blankets out there covering everything up until it was old enough to uncover and open traffic.
Are they gonna put that M4000 quick mix, no, just regular concrete then?
It'll be structural concrete mix. I mean, it's more than your 4,000 pound mix from the stand of cement, but it's not as much cement. It's not adding any calcium that they do with that M mix that's got that early strength.
Okay. All right, and then I guess my last question is, forgot to ask him, if you're short on drivers, is there a possibility that you can ask the weed commissioner to help drive a truck, or absolutely not? That's two totally different departments.
I think that's a possibility. I know that depending on what they have going on, for sure. And right now, depending on what type of snow you get, I mean, we've got zero snow cover right now. There are motor grader operators that can run truck plows, which is what we did last Saturday. I think we made more or less a quick dry run. I think the total time, start to finish, I think was probably only 4 or 5 hours Saturday morning. But I know there would have been a couple motor grader operators that were utilized to drive a couple snowplow trucks because there's no reason to be out on the rock last Saturday.
Okay.
Otherwise, county engineers have their annual conference going on later this week, so I'm headed to Des Moines here shortly. I got a committee meeting this afternoon and one tomorrow morning, and then the conference starts at noon tomorrow. And I'll be back Friday.
Okay.
Safe travels to you, Myron.
Thanks.
Yes.
Don't blow off the road tomorrow.
Get over there before the wind starts
Yeah.
blowing tomorrow.
Reports.
Quick comment, I just, don't ask me why, when you said reports to Gary and why this all came up, but, as we get closer to budget stuff, I noticed driving in the county, the Pioneer Cemetery signs are getting pretty faded. I don't know just if
as you're talking the Pioneer Cemetery, I think that, it's been over 10 years ago, a bulk of signs were ordered and purchased. I don't know how their budget works, if it just came out of supervisors or what.
Yeah, we put certain one in there.
Secondary roads agreed to put them up, they purchased them, and certainly the ones that are facing the sun heavily right now are getting very bleached. May need to replace some. I know that some signs were just ordered from the Pioneer Cemetery because they were delivered to our sign shop, that Wayne was gonna come pick up, but I just throw that out as mentioned, that there's a number of them that probably need to be replaced, and if they haven't thought
I
about it. maybe-
think they mentioned something about signs last week.
Okay,
Do you know how much they run per
I
sign?
do not.
Okay. That would be a good, if they need a little cushion in there,
They probably would know because
they just ordered some.
they just had some delivered last week, and I'm not sure which. I think a few of them were specific to the name of a cemetery that they were gonna put up, but,
At Stringtown, probably.
but I know at that time, there were a number of just Pioneer cemeteries with an arrow left or right that were put up, and we assisted in getting them up at some intersections to point them in that direction.
Okay.
All right, see you next week.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Mayor. Well, I had a conservation last night. Pretty good meeting, I guess.
Did they, is that where they found out that they don't own the?
Yes. So that'll be kind of down the road, our discussion, what we're gonna do. Get the mayor of Atkins involved in it. Kind of go from there. We'll discuss that more in detail down the road. They got a lot of things going on.
She did submit her budget, didn't
Yes, I got that too, and we went over it. Their total budget is what they got figured, if I remember right, I can look it up fairly fast. Their total budget for everything went up 2.75% for everything. And that's figured a 5% on the salaries. So they're cutting other ways, you know what I mean?
What's going on with the Hannon Lake project? Now that you're not building it?
No, I'm involved in it now.
Go you weakened.
So what are they gonna do?
Well, I'm gonna start meeting with Shelby in January, and we'll get some more blueprints, or whatever you wanna call it. Wanna get a material list, same like we did over here. Electrical, plumbing, heating, you know, and then set it out for bids. See what we come up with, but
Attaboy.
so I said in January, so we'll start the paperwork anyway, so.
How big a building they figuring on putting up?
Like a 40 by 60, 45 by 60.
And it's gonna go on the east side?
Yes. Yes. So they want to include like a heated shower room, restrooms in it. You know, so there the question comes up, do you put block in it, you know what I mean? Make it a block to heat it, or do you do something else? Glass board or something, you know what I mean? That's something that I guess Shelby, she can kind of say which way they want to go.
Did you guys, I told some of the department heads, with the ARP funds, their wish list, kind of put that down at the bottom.
She had that on, well, she's got it on there and I can't remember what she, I mean, that was one of the deals that I just kinda chuckled about, but.
That was for the bathrooms and.
Yes, yes, it's the one in the blue.
Yeah, I told her to highlight it separately for her. Cause that's all a different fund.
Yeah. 9. I didn't print it off like they did in the big picture, so 950.
Does law enforcement ever get down to Hannon Lake, or does the conservation take care of all that?
They could use 950,000 from the ARP fund.
I bet they could. I bet they could, yeah.
And then I think they did, lift some of the restrictions that could be used for too. Not fully, I just kind of reading it off, yeah.
So it was over 2 hours last night. That's all I got.
So now you want a motion
Yes, I do.
to adjourn?
Yes.
You got it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We try to get through all the parts and all